Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel. This is Business Connections Live with Steve Hyland.
Hello, welcome along. It is Business Connections Live. It is the programme that is designed for SMEs, small businesses and entrepreneurs. On today's show, we're going to be discussing the newly released book, Transform Your Communication Skills, which features a chapter about us here at Business Connections Live and is now available on Amazon and a number of other bookshops as well, for that matter, so you can get it absolutely everywhere. My guest on today's show is author Steve Bridger. Steve, it's great to have you with us today, and we're looking forward to talking about the book, Transform Your Communication Skills. It is an important part of business, making certain that you get your message across. A lot of people don't. But your background really is in the world of marketing and copywriting, isn't it?
Correct, yeah. I started as a suit in advertising agencies. So my first one was with Young and Rubicon. And then I went on to CDP, which at the time was one of the hottest hot shops creatively in London, and in fact the world. It won lots and lots of awards, and it was just electric to work there, just so much fun. Then I went into sales promotion and integrated marketing, and then created my own idea in terms of a new product, which was Spanish-style flower pot holders, which I created, marketed. We won the New Product of the Year award.
What was the driver for that? Was it the fact that you felt that there was something that you could market, that you could develop, and you could then use the skills you had, or are you just a keen gardener?
No, it was not a question of being a keen gardener. I'm going to tell you a very quick story in a minute, which will just blow your mind. But what happened was that for years and years, of course, being working for an agency, you're a consultant and you give advice to clients. And so on many, many years, I'd been sort of part of a group that would give advice. But I was using somebody else's money, and they would pay for the campaign, and it'd either win or it wouldn't win, or it would be successful or it wouldn't be successful, or shades of colour in between. So I thought to myself, well, look, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to design something, trademark it, and launch it, and see what happens. And as luck would have it, because luck always plays a massive part, when on launch we won the New Product of the Year award. And in the year 2000, so it's that long ago now, I was at the BBC Gardeners World Live at the NEC. And so I had all my flower pot holders, and everybody was looking at them, and that was great. And Alan Titchmarsh walked past, and I gave him a set. I sort of rugby tackled him, gave him a set of the Spanish rings. A month later, we were called by the researcher for ground force. A month after that, we were on ground force for 7 seconds in a background shot that they were doing for some Mediterranean makeover. And we went from 25 garden centres to 75 garden centres in 6 weeks.
That is amazing, but that's the power of television, isn't it? Yeah. So, you know, getting us back to the copywriting, while that was all happening, were you using that, you know, the power of press? Yeah. Were you using the power of the spoken word to promote the product as well?
Of course, yes. I mean, we were doing on-page advertising. We had the website, of course, SpanishRings.com. That was up. I'd written that. We had put a number of different projects together for that. But really, the writing that I was doing in terms of marketing was just some of the normal things, writing websites for people, also all the leaflets that people would want in terms of, you know, marketing, communications, all the background stuff, and doing that, if you like, a very essential but day-to-day support service.
So when you look at businesses today, I mean, you've written the book here, Transform Your Communication Skills. When you're looking at the whole area of communications, what do you think the fundamental, if there is such a question, if the fundamental big mistake that small businesses make, that entrepreneurs make when they're going out there, is there a big big mistake?
Well, the crucial thing you've got to think about is engagement and involvement. And fundamentally, of course, in communication, it's a question of making sure that everybody comprehends, what you're talking about.
So what do you mean by that?
Understands.
What do you mean?
Well, what I mean is that a lot of people in business, suddenly they think to themselves, right, I'm a business person, so I've got to act like in a very business-like way. And so you get little terms, for example, like B2C, business to consumer, and you think to yourself, right, well, that's a little package, I'll get from that. Or B2B, business to business. I'm going to be one of these business to business people. But in fact, it's not about that at all. It's about H to H.
Human to human.
Human to human, you see. And because if you can make sure that in your writing and in your communication, you're really a translator, and you translate what the company, the brand wants to say into something that people, consumers, want to buy, or what they want to hear.
But
that's the magic.
But you've worked in the big agencies. You've been in the big agency, and you worked there. You moved on from the big agencies. You write for yourself. But don't you feel sometimes that the agencies or the people that are writing actually sometimes lose sight of who the other human is? Because everybody's slightly different, and we have demographic groups that we actually are all divided into.
Sure.
So we can write for one particular. If you were writing for my father, you'd be writing for a completely different audience than if you were writing for, should we say, a 21-year-old who's at university or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very much knowing exactly who you're writing for, and if you like, melding into their brains, and so that you become part of them, and so that you understand the things that excite them, the things that interest them, the things that they worry about. And if you look now, for example, all the Christmas advertising is coming up now. We've got, for John Lewis and the Aldi advert. Have you seen the Aldi take on the John Lewis advert?
Yep.
So, but all of that is the humour. But it's designed to engage in emotions, and it's all emotional-driven advertising. Especially for example, Nationwide, they do it brilliantly as well. And what they're trying to do is to make sure that when you're looking at their advert, there is some sort of empathy. That dreaded word, empathy. But it's a way that people can lock together, understand each other, and puts things across in such a way that it means something to you, it relates to you, it actually...
Do you think the agencies sometimes get lost, though, in... I mean, you've been there, you've been a creative, you've come up with the concept, you've brought the concept all the way through. Do you think sometimes the agencies get lost in the production values, the overall story, the beautiful pictures, and they actually lose the message?
Well, I have to say that over the years that's got better and better and better and better and better in terms of understanding what, it's not necessarily the agencies, but you do get a lot of advertisers who are saying, biff, baff, boff, this is what we've got, this is what you want, and, it's a very straight proposition.
But that's the way. I mean, the first ad on ITV was for SR toothpaste.
That's right.
That's right. It's got
Created
a nice
by
minty
Dennis
taste.
Orton at Young and Rubicam.
And that's right. And it cleans your teeth.
Yeah.
The message was very, very clear. Sometimes you can watch an ad and you've got no idea what the ad is about, and then at the very last few seconds a brand will come up that you're blowed if you can remember afterwards.
Yeah, indeed. Or what was it all about in the first place?
Yeah.
And why was it suddenly put into a car? Suddenly is jumping into the back of the end shot, and you're thinking, what was that got to do with that anyway? It is very, very confusing.
So is that the agencies getting lost, do you think? Or is that the client as well getting lost when they're trying to communicate the core message, or is it the fact they've got a weak message to get over?
Well, I think a lot of it is to make sure that everything that they do fits in with the brand proposition, the brand image, and sometimes the image actually takes over from actually the proposition and what the product is, and so that you're dressing something up to such a degree that you're thinking, well, yeah, but where's the relevance to it? How does it actually, what does it relate to me? Why should I even bother with this product? Because then in the end, suddenly it's like the rabbit coming out of the hat. This is actually, what we're all about. This is what we're trying to do.
I think you've defended the agencies very well. I'm sure a lot of the copywriters that are out there going, I'm ever so pleased with this guy because we agree with absolutely everything he said. If you've got to look at small businesses,
yes,
What do you think the single big mistake is that they make when it comes to communicating with their customers?
Well, actually, I think...
You've written the book, so
Yeah.
you're going to have experience with it there.
Well, I think a lot of it is them not realising the power that they've got and realising that the sort of things that they can do is available now. I mean, the plethora of avenues in terms of online, in terms of radio, in terms of all the different communications, all the fragmentations, all the ways that now you can put together at very, very low cost in your locality to make you stand out and stand apart from your competitors. There is a great deal in terms of watching programs like this and getting information, for example, understanding, going back through all the different people that you've had, for example, on this program. They're talking about social media, or they talked about LinkedIn. For a small business, you can get all this fantastic ready information and use it productively. And there's no reason. Size doesn't really matter. You can think big. I mean, for example, on Spanish Rings, going back to that for 1 second, it's an international mail order brand. But it's done from East Molesey here. It's all done in a relatively small act, but there's nothing to stop you and stop me, for example, at this time of the year, doing business in South Africa and Australia. Because the seasons change, you react to the seasons. But just because you're setting up a small business, you don't actually have to have small dreams. You don't have to be restricted anyway, and you can achieve those things.
Well, it's all about achieving those things. It's all about getting those messages across as well. We are going to be talking about the book today. It is called Transform Your Communication Skills. As I've already said, there is a chapter in there where we pontificate for a couple of pages, and we hope you find that interesting. The book really is a real insight into how businesses, entrepreneurs, SMEs should really be communicating with their customers and with their business customers and themselves as well, for that matter. That's all to come on this edition of Business Connections Live. Well, it's going to be a fascinating hour then, as we look into the whole world of the communications. My personal opinion is I don't think we're very good at it, and I think the people who are probably worst at it are the communicators.
Well, I think the thing about the book, which makes it very, very different and very special. And I'm not plugging the book as such. I'm plugging the idea which a lot of people are embracing and which I'm delighted about, which is the idea of collaboration. The idea of other people sharing and coming together to help others. And there's a great ethos in the book in terms of people like yourselves, and you were talking about how to prepare for radio interviews and television interviews. And it's all about helping, guiding, reassuring. And that ethos comes through for everybody coming together and really helping to change people's lives. It's not just about businesses, it's about you as an individual suddenly getting more confident being able to raise your self-esteem and do better for yourself and achieve your ends.
We'll give you all the details that you need as the programme goes on, and where you can actually get hold of the book as well, for that matter. I'll tell you what we're going to do, and it is all about collaboration, which is so good about it. Talking about collaboration, of course, we get a load of great guests. Not only have we got Steve on today's programme, but on last week's programme we spoke to James White. He's the owner and CEO of InTouch CRM, which talked about automating your sales and marketing by using customer relationship management technology. The thing that's important about that is, once again, you are communicating. It's all about using those words, images, pictures, videos. You are communicating with other human beings. Now, okay, this piece of technology allows you to automate some of that so that you can it's a bit like having an additional person working for your business. They can be there. You can have a sequence of events that will actually happen automatically when somebody shows interest in your company. I don't think that actually takes away from the fact that most businesses are all about human being talking to human being. I like that, H to H. That's what business is all about. But if you want to take some of the pressure away, if you want to automate some of the process to get you to a stage where it is the right time to actually communicate on a one-to-one basis, then something like InTouch CRM is going to be absolutely perfect for you. There are other systems out there. We use InTouch CRM. We find it absolutely invaluable. If you are looking for a CRM system, maybe you should consider that. Have a little bit of a look right now. Hear the words of James White from last week's edition of Business Connections Live. Now, on today's show, we're going to be talking about automating your sales and marketing by using customer relationship management technology. You may know it as CRM. My guest on today's show is James White. He's the owner and the CEO of InTouch CRM. James.
Okay, well, I mean, I think it's to me, it's the basis of most businesses, really. It's I define customer relationship. It's your customers, who they are, what their names and their details, their contact information, the most precious bits of information about them. Your relationship with them. Are you on good terms with them? Are you on bad terms with them? Are you doing as much business with them as you'd like or not? And basically, how you manage that and how you put that into a way in which you can manage it so that you make your business look effective, and also help them do more, help them close more business, help them save time. I think in any case, in any business, if the core product isn't very good, or if they don't know where that product is actually servicing or being focused, then ultimately they'll face a challenge. But if they've got some of those basics right and they've got a good product and a good identity, then we can help them actually become more efficient with their time and help them drive more sales. It's then about the ability to store and record potential business with them. So with current customers, you might do repeat business, or with new customers, you want to record those potential opportunities. And there's a lot of businesses that are very good on the first and second follow-up when they get a new opportunity. Someone just says, here's a new lead, and they're great at doing the first call, but they don't then do maybe the third and the fourth and the fifth call. To me, it's as a business owner, if your customer data is the most precious thing you've got. Surely, if you haven't got customers, you don't want to look after that information, then what are you in business for? 80% of business is not closed on the first and the second interaction, it's closed on the 5th to the 12th. So actually, how do you remind yourself to continue to, when you've had that new opportunity to follow up? Well, set yourself a task, set yourself a reminder. I as a business, or I as a customer, if I'm given my email address or contact or vital information for you, the minimum thing I'm going to want you to do is to look after it. Because if you don't want to look after it, I mean, we've all seen recently with some of the major brands in the UK how when someone's data is actually stolen or taken, or used externally, people get very annoyed about that, and rightly so. So the biggest onus on you as a business, I think, or anyone as a business, is to, if your customers are going to give you some information about them, their contact numbers, their mobile numbers, their email addresses, to look after that. There are lots of processes that most businesses and owners go through in their day-to-day lives that they do on a repetitive basis, or there are things that happen, but then the other elements behind it don't happen. And what we try and do is we say, right, well, actually, let's see if we can actually plan out what that process is and how do I want it to work in its best effect. And once I've done that, if I put it in a place in what I call a campaign, whenever that new thing then happens, I can then follow that process all the way through. Now, one of my biggest pet hates is I'll look for a service or I'll search online for something, and we all know 80% of search is done on Google. If you haven't got a Google online web presence, you're done for. And I'll go to a website and I'll complete a contact us form on a query form on a website, and then I hear nothing. So automatically, as a business owner, for a start, I was interested in your product, I liked the look of your website, I liked what you did, and then I specifically said to you, I'm interested, and nothing happened. And actually, it's not just about your website, it's also about connection, people are ringing, it's about, as I say, the bits of paper you get, it's about any potential business you've got. As business owners, you can't afford to be in a position where you let any opportunity go, especially if you're new or you're starting up. And actually, it's about having those good disciplines to record that. The good thing is then, once I've recorded it, it's on a bit of paper, I've recorded it, even if I then go away for a week, because I'm busy, I'm doing other things, I'm traveling, at least I can come back at a certain point like, oh yeah, that was that lead opportunity. I remember, I haven't got back to that guy because the task is still outstanding. Or actually, I didn't do something I should have done. It's not looking great. I'll make sure I follow up and say sorry. Apologies about that. Thanks. Well, I'm James White. I'm as I say, the founder of InTouch CRM. And one of the reasons that I'm here is I'm passionate about small businesses and helping small businesses grow. And I certainly believe that as any small business owner, that you want to be successful. You want to ensure that your business is growing. And whether it's InTouch or any other systems that you use, I think you can get there by using systems effectively to not only save you time, to replicate, to save you having to do tasks and repeat on an ongoing basis, but also to follow up on business, to make those new business opportunities happen by closing more deals. And we get to the stage of closing more opportunities by being able to be in a position to remind ourselves to follow up on an ongoing basis. That's the thing I've learned in my career, that invariably it's that activity and that want to actually achieve something and to continue to follow up that's key. So we'd welcome the chance to talk to you about what we do at InTouch. But again, even if you're looking at using any form of system, I'd certainly say the best businesses that I'm talking to at the moment, the ones that are growing the most fast, most quickly, are using business automation to help them accelerate their growth. And we help with an Automate to Accelerate review, and we'd love to do that with you. So if you're interested in what we can do and how CRM and customer relationship management and business automation can help you grow, take a look at our website at intouchcrm.com, or give me or one of my team a call, and we'd love the chance to talk about your small business and helping you achieve your objectives.
Absolutely fantastic show. If you get an opportunity, do watch the entire one. It's James White, owner and CEO of InTouch CRM. It is a fantastic package. If you want to find out more details about that, you can follow the links. I'm going to do something now that I see other YouTube channels do. You can follow the links that are down below the programme. So you can do that if you wish to do that. You're watching Business Connections Live, and my guest on today's show is author Steve Bridger. He's the author of a brand new book, and it's really invaluable for any small to medium scale business. If you're getting into business as well, for that matter, and you need some good advice on communications. The book is called Transform Your Communication Skills. A real insight. It's got a number of, it's a real collaboration, the book, isn't it? Tell us a little bit about the makeup of the book as well.
Well, the whole idea behind it is that obviously I had my own experience to contribute from my advertising days and marketing to creative marketing and so on and so forth. So that was the basis. And so I'd come up with the idea, but then as I was writing, I thought to myself, well, that's all very well, but what I really wanted to do was to also, well, instead of having one voice talking, one voice pontificating, one voice saying, look at me, I'm very, very clever. What it in fact is now is that there's 11 voices involved, 11 different people who are successful coaches who have contributed their time into and their expertise, shared it for the benefit of everybody wanting to know about their particular expertise. And so I guessed, if you like, a half a chapter or sometimes a full chapter to people and say, right, over to you, tell people what it is you do, and give them the benefits of your experience. So I'm, if you like, there acting as narrator, the ringmaster.
The conduit.
Yes, the conduit, to let people have, if you like, their 5 or 10 minutes, and so they explain what they want to do. But the lovely thing about it was everybody came with the same wanting, sharing mentality. To really to be able to show people and to give the gift of their experience, sometimes of many years' experience in their fields of communication.
When you were standing back, having put the book together, could you see a common thread that was going right across all the contributors to it?
The common thread was, if you like, the pursuit of excellence. The common thread was that whatever they were doing is that they were wanting to make sure, and on your introduction you talked about business and SMEs, but once again it's getting back to where we started in terms of the human to human. With this, it makes individual humans get better at what they do and get better as communicators. And if they can then speak, write and present better, and make progress in their working lives, they also make that great progress in their personal lives, because they become sort of more confident in what they're going to be doing. So whether there's a chapter, for example, in the book about having to give a wedding speech.
So it's not just about business. It is truly.
Business.
So some of the skills that you learn, because they often say, don't they, that the one thing that people hate doing is they'd rather die than stand up in front of a group of people.
Yes, indeed.
And that is a classic. It's a classic line, isn't it? That so many people use.
Yes.
But that is very true. Strange enough, I'm not particularly good at wedding speeches. I get too emotional. The control of your emotions.
Yeah.
Every time I've given a wedding speech, I found myself welling up at tears.
Yes.
Because I get very sort of locked into it.
That's right, and you forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, you forget where you are and everything from there. But, you know, this book is very, very much about an individual, you know, and they could be, for example, having to sort of say, give a farewell speech at work. Somebody's leaving, and they're the one that sort of is being volunteered by everybody else to stand up and speak.
Well, let's just look at the key points that the book actually does cover. As Steve has said, we'll just have a look at the cover again. So it's one book, 11 voices, so 11 contributors actually are involved with the book. It's actually a very, very good read. What's nice about it is that the style remains consistent with Steve, because he, as he said, is acting like the conduit. He's bringing all these different, this whole cloud of thoughts together. So we've got one book, 11 voices, easy to understand and to absorb as well. Practical insights. So if you don't like these books that really are they're a little bit sort of theoretical in many respects. What this book is all about practical experience and expertise, and it's personal and working life as well, as Steve was just explaining. So it does cover all the different gambits, doesn't it, of what is important to us. Communication is such an important thing, and we are truly sometimes absolutely hopeless at it. When somebody comes along and says, what do you do, or explain that. For instance, if I talk to my dad and I ask him to explain the TV programme, I am on a hiding to nothing.
Yes.
Because he's not thinking about the explanation. He can still see it in here, but he can't articulate it.
Articulate. I'll put it across.
Do people sometimes see that in the different chapters inside the book as well?
Well, I think the one of the key elements about the book, which is so important, is that it's not written like a business book at all. It's more written almost like a novel, in that it's very easy to read and very quick to understand and absorb, and you can dip into the chapters and read the stories. It's basically, the whole book is a storybook.
So it's
a storybook about communication.
It's a reference book.
It's a handbook. It's a wonderful little sort of marketing speaking handbook, and one where if you've got issues, for example, if you are somebody who's nervous and dreads the thought of standing up and speaking, then you can go into the chapters that relate to that, and it helps you. And it demystifies it all, and it makes it that you feel so, well, actually, I can do this, I can handle this. I don't need actually to be scared stiff.
Now, it says here you've got preparation watchwords, which I find mildly amusing, having had the conversation we've had. And I really agree with this. Purpose, which is good. Identify what you're going to be saying. Clarity, be clear on what you're going to say, and then brevity. Keep it short.
Get it correctly.
Have you read your book?
Keep it short. No, I was going to go on like a train. But the interesting thing about this, from the communicator's point of view, all right, stop laughing. On the communicator's point of view, the main point about it is the purpose. Is yes, you've got to get across, if you like, the business message, the commercial message. But as a communicator, you've got to think about how you actually put it across, what software you use, that's one part of it. But also, it's very, very much a question of saying to people, well, how am I going to convince you? How am I going to actually involve and connect with you? And so, as a communicator, the purpose is what you want to achieve in the end.
The clarity then?
Clarity is no buzzwords. Clarity is no acronyms. You know, it's not using phrases or things that people won't understand. It's not trying to be too clever. It's literally keeping it simple and straightforward. You know, the old KISS thing, but straightforward in terms of kissing, or whatever it may be. Stupid.
And the brevity.
And the brevity is that, once again, in a business scenario, everybody's stressed, everybody's doing other things, everybody's got other things in their mind, and you need to say what you want to do, so clearly the people are to understand it, and you get in and you get out.
Do you sometimes feel that people feel nearly obliged to, first of all, to not speak in their normal tongue, in as much as that they will use, they'll try to make themselves sound smarter as opposed to clearer, and that they will talk for longer as opposed to shorter, even though it only warrants it being shorter?
This is not Shakespeare. It's not. You don't have to be a soaring orator or be able to write, you know, beautifully flowery, wonderful sonnets or anything else. It does a job. You know, in business, you do have to think about the results you want to achieve, the action you want people to take, and you want them to cooperate with you to achieve those ends. So it's a very, very clear job you've got to do. And part of it is not to blow people away or bore people away by you pontificating.
Do you think that businesses, they sometimes will develop a corporate voice, he says in inverted commas, and then get lost in their corporate voice sometimes? Do people do that?
Well, what they do, I think, is people take themselves so seriously sometimes, and they forget that people are people. And I did a presentation the other day, and I'm sitting first of all, ready to go, ready to speak, and there are business people sitting around, middle-aged business people, and I'm thinking, they are going to, then there was accountants and chartered accountants and solicitors there, and I'm thinking, this is going to be a tough gig. I'm thinking this is going to be difficult. But then I thought to myself, well, hold on, I'm not going to talk to them as if they're accountants or chartered accountants. I'm going to talk to them as though they will have a laugh, that they actually would be interested in some of the jokes I'm going to say or things I'm going to say that actually relate to them as individual human beings. And once those people then, if it was like they shed their skin, they stopped being business people and they actually started being people that you want to have a pint with, and relaxed. And that was the breakthrough. It was actually making sure that you're talking to them on their same wavelength as they really are, rather than the badge that they're wearing and the role that they're playing.
And that is really a real problem that you do see in business presentations, isn't it? That people will start speaking to them in a completely different place, isn't it?
Exactly.
Do we have that problem as well when we're talking to our customers? Do we do the same to them, do you feel?
Well, we do, but there's this slide here called the Golden Rules.
Righto, the Golden Rules.
Right.
Now,
And
these are the things to remember, are they?
The golden rules, the two golden rules. First golden rule is to write for your reader. When you're writing, always think about the person that's reading it, because you can't guarantee, when you're speaking, obviously I'm speaking to you, I know what you're like, you're here, and I can read you, and I can respond to what you're saying. You're transmitting, I'm receiving, I'm transmitting, you're receiving it, so it's a double act. All right? Literally, as we're playing now, we're doing the double act. However, when you're writing in business, yes, you may get somebody around a table who is with you at the time that they're reading what you're actually wanting to say on the bit of paper. But very often, you send an email, you send a newsletter, you're writing a report, you're giving a proposal, and then it lands out on somebody's desk 2 or 3 days in the future, or a month in the future, or wherever it may be, and then all the power of your words and the skill of your communication has to work then as effectively as if you're in the room, put your arm around the shoulder and talking to them. So
how do you check on that? Is this the old thing where you go, where you write something and you say, briefly, this is, so what? Is this a so what principle? You write it and then you go, so what?
Yeah.
And then ask yourself that question. What does it mean?
Exactly, yeah. Well, the crucial thing in terms of that previous slide that you saw in terms of the preparation is to structure what you want to say in a way that is logical and understandable and that leads somebody, if you like, on a thought process right the way through the document that you're writing. So you start with a background, you say what the situation is, you start with then you perhaps go on to your objectives and then your aims and then your strategies. So it's all step by step by step. It's all in the book. And all of these structures and ideas, how to write proposals, newsletters, emails, how to avoid pitfalls, it's all there.
It's all there in the book. We're going to be talking more about the book in just a few moments' time. My guest on today's show is Steve Bridger. You're watching Business Connections Live. We hope you're enjoying the show today. So the golden rules, a fascinating area. That's where we are just at the moment. And if you're finding it completely engaging, maybe you're a communicator in your business at the moment and you're saying to yourself, do you know what? What this guy is saying is that making absolute common sense. So many of us, though, break those rules. So many of us do try to be particularly clever. I think the thing that was interesting about the brevity, how many times have you found yourself writing a sales page where you've just wanted to keep writing? I mean, there are cases, aren't there, where you've got long-form sales pages, and some people say those actually work, and they're not brief at all, are they? But they are the same message repeatedly all the way through.
Well, that's right. I mean, sometimes you make the sale in the first couple of minutes, and then you kill the sale by going on and on and on, or confusing people about something. To be succinct is difficult, but it's also an art. And by the way, when you're doing all of these, you can't suddenly go from not being a very good writer to becoming an excellent writer overnight. It's practice, it's dedication, and it's working at it. But if you have the framework and you know where you're going on it, then that's a great help.
Now, the thing that's interesting about today's program, if you're finding it absolutely engaging and you think to yourself, I've just got to watch more of this, I've got to watch the next thing that he says. What's the next thing that Steve Bridger is going to say? Surely the thing that's important about that is that could you get the same effect with the written word sometimes? Do you find yourself in that situation? How do you make people, they used to call it in radio, the dangerous radio presenter, the radio presenter that you would sit in the car park and you would listen to, you wanted to hear the next thing he said, because the next thing he said could be the funniest thing or the most outrageous thing that anyone's ever done before. You were actually being engaged by that presenter. Now, if you're finding it engaging today and you're thinking to yourself, well, how can I replicate that with my newsletters? How can I replicate that with the written word? Maybe that isn't the way forward. Within the next 5 years, Every website is going to change. No longer is it going to look like the websites that we see today that are full of text. What they're going to look like, they're going to look like they're going to look like TV channels. Multimedia experiences is what they're going to be. There's going to be video, and there's going to be streaming live video on them. There's going to be a whole host of different pieces of material and content. How do you engage your audience? How can you engage your audience today? Well, we think you should stop having readers. That's our theory. You should actually have viewers. We call it Your Brand TV. Have a look at this. Still sending out conventional newsletters to customers?
Do you just want a more engaging way to talk to your customers and employees?
Hello, I'm Steve Hyland.
And I'm Linda Bazant of Business Connections Live.
Your Brand TV is a completely branded television show that can be streamed live or delivered on demand to your niche audience. Be the first in your market to capitalise on the online media gold rush that is using online video to effectively deliver news, information and education to key personnel and clients.
Video attracts 2 to 3 times as many monthly visitors. It doubles their time spent on your site and has a 150% increase in organic traffic from search engines. Large networking organisations are already utilising the power of Your Brand TV to market, promote and publicise to their members and groups across the UK.
Your programme will be branded with your corporate colours and logos in your own broadcast quality network studio.
You can choose the format. It can be news or magazine or interview in its look and feel.
You can have live guests on your show, or you can Skype them in.
You can stream the show live or on demand, so it's available for catch-up.
This is a chance to deliver your message in a new, exciting format that will allow your business to cut through the noise and stand out from the crowd and engage your workforce and customers. This is Your Brand TV.
To get more information on this fabulous opportunity to bring to life your corporate communications, contact us today at Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel.
Your Brand TV, it could be the way that you do change your readers into viewers and you engage your audience more by communicating in a clear manner, keeping it short and keeping it brief. We do a long form program here, and we hope that when you're watching it you find that you get dragged into it, because there's always something in the next bit or the next section that's going to be even more interesting. There are now over 100 programs. There's 109 programs if you're watching it as of today, but maybe when you're watching it there's over 150 hours of free content for small to medium scale enterprises, entrepreneurs and business owners. If you want to find out about social media, if you want to find out how to write an ad, if you want to find out about CRM, if you want to find out about nutrition in business, I mean, it is very, very diverse, the different topics that we do cover on the program. Everything is there. There'll be something sales, loads of programs about sales techniques, different ways of selling, different ways that you should approach marketing as well, how to use Facebook. It's all there if you go to our website. And if you want to find out about Your Brand TV, well, then that's easy as well. You can drop us an email to this address. It is studio@businessconnectionslive.com. If you want, you can give us a call. We like talking to people. We're very nice, particularly Linda. She's very nice. She'll talk to you. And here's the telephone number. It is 01784 256 777. There it is there. Or you can follow us on Twitter. And you can hear the ongoing social consciousness of Business Connections Live simply by following us at BCL Business TV. It's interesting actually, because we're very careful on who we follow back, and we'd like to thank all the business owners who follow us. We follow you back if you are a business owner, and that is creeping up because it's considered what we do with our Twitter feed. There are something just short of I think it's 3,000 people who, small businesses, entrepreneurs, people like that, and that whole area there, that is a whole mass of social consciousness that is dedicated towards small to medium scale enterprises, entrepreneurs and business owners. That's how we use our Twitter account. You can always get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live, and please do that today. And also, if you're enjoying the program, give us a thumbs up on YouTube as well. You're watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is author Steve Bridger. He's brought out a brand new book. It is called Transform Your Communication Skills. It's a real insight. It's got a whole load of contributors inside. Steve, of course, used to be a marketing copywriter. He's been an author for a number of years. He's brought out a number of business books, all of them making a good read, some great business advice. Do watch out. We'll give you all the details as well if you want to get hold of any of his documents or any of his books. Let's talk a little bit. We were talking there about the golden rules just before we had our little break.
Yes.
Audience, though, is always important. Understanding your audience is always going to be important.
Well, from a communicator's point of view, now, anybody out there, don't sort of shoot me down in flames about this, but the most important thing is that you've got 3 different character types within an audience. So the picture there, we've got the picture up.
Yeah, there's the picture. We can have a look. There it is,
right.
Yeah.
So within all that group of people, everybody in there, I could tell you now that generally, from a communicator's point of view, there are 3 different types of people in that audience.
Okay, then.
And as a communicator, you have to hit and tick each one of those 3 types to be really successful.
Now, that's interesting because I'm looking at the picture. I can see everybody seems to be looking up into the air. We've got one person who seems to be looking in the other chap's ear, is interrogating him.
Yeah.
And
there are massive people, and I'm just talking about 3 different types of people. So move on to the next, if I could do that. So just put those 3 little digits up, and then I will tell you that, in fact, if you kick it again, right, the first group of people that are out there that are in that audience are, if you like, the dreamers, the creative people. They're the people who are, the blue sky thinkers, if you like, and primarily they get off on ideas. They love the ideas. So when you create and when you're writing and when you're presenting to these people, you have to be dynamic in terms of the whole concept that you're putting across. You need to excite them and interest them. And what they like pretty much is, if you like, the whole concept of this particular idea that you're doing. They're the first group of people. The second group of people are, if you like, we call them the dynamos. These are the dynamos. These are the people, the multitasking. These are the people within a company that gets things done. All right? Now, they are the people who want to know about the timelines. They want to know about when things need to be sorted. They need to be able to see who they need to bring in to do a particular job. They're the engines. They're the dynamos that make things happen. And then the last group of people are the left brain people. They're the people who are, if you like, from Monty Python. It was Nobody Expects the Spanish Inquisition. These are the people that question you, that are the cynics. They're the people, in fact, that need evidence. They need the research. They need the backup. They need proof of what you're saying, right? They're the third group. And these people, in fact, even though they can be the most annoying group of people, if you're a creative person, they are, in fact, the people that could save your life, because they would question things and make sure that you respond to the questions, that you give them the backup and you give them the peace of mind that they're looking for before they say, I agree, let's go ahead.
So when you're communicating then, and you know there are 3 groups that are sitting out there.
Indeed.
How do you go about communicating to them as a mass then? Or do you write specific parts of whatever you're writing or your communications? Do you target each part individually?
Well, it depends on whether you're writing or whether you're speaking. Mm-hmm. All right? But if you're saying, right, I'm presenting an idea to you, I need, first of all, as in, if you like, classic advertising ideas, I need to blow you away with the sheer jollity of it, the humour of it, the creativity of it, the fact that what I'm putting across to you has never been done before, and I want to get you so excited that the blood is starting to rush around your body like a mad thing. Right? At the same time, I need to make sure that everybody knows about the budgets and when we're going to deliver and how it's going to be. So I need to put another layer on top of the creative idea. So the creative idea is there and everybody's saying, yes, and the smiles are up, find the people who are the blue sky thinkers. You've got them interested and they love what you're saying. Then the second part of it is to say, yeah, okay, well, how am I going to make this happen? Have I got the resources? Do I need anything? Have I got the budgets? And so on and so forth. And then you would need to also say to the people around there, okay, now we've actually, from the resources and the backup that we've got, know that if we're targeting to this particular type of people, we need to do it in this particular way, and this is the way it's been done before. And so you give them all the evidence, you give the research, and it may well you do market research, and then you give them the top line figures from the research, so that people can say that you are delivering a convincing case.
But don't you think, let me ask you that, here's a thought. Are we not all combinations of all three of these people? If we just have a look at this slide again, some of us do, where did he get this picture of me? That's the first thing in the morning. That's the one thing. But I mean, you know, here we've got Albert Einstein, who was a great thinker and a blue sky thinker. But all of us, to a certain extent, have got a bit of an Albert in us. Got a bit of this lady, I suppose, as well, where we are all multitasking, particularly in today's modern offices. And to a certain extent, a lot of us are creative and, are curious, like music, like art. There's a little bit of all of that in all of us, surely.
Yes, but it's a question of the proportion, if you like. It's the thing which really makes that if the phrase is, what floats your boat, if you like? What is it that is your main driver? This is what I'm talking about. So is it something that you get off on the excitement of it and the whole creativity of it? Or are you somebody that needs to be persuaded, you need to be convinced? And everybody knows those kinds of people. I say within that picture of all those people together, there'll be people who would say, cynics. People would say, I don't really understand that. Prove it to me. And they put you under pressure and they quiz you. And they quiz you sometimes purely to see whether you are blowing smoke, or they quiz you to know what you're talking about and to give you evidence.
What do you think?
Well, what I'm doing, I'm basically creative, but I also have the ability to get things done. Where I personally lack necessarily is sometimes I get so excited about something I go off and do something without thinking twice. And I've actually had my fingers burned on more than one occasion because of that. So that's my problem. But I've learnt one thing: if you're setting up a new business, if you're an SME, you should have, if you like, a cabinet of talents of all these different types of people. And it's so valuable to you for somebody to have people there around you who are not going to immediately go along with what you say and what you want to do. To have somebody on the balancing side that can actually quiz you and really put you through the mill in terms of questioning you, they are worth their weight in gold. To have somebody like that. You may not think so because it upsets you because I want to go ahead with this, but he's drawing me back. But the number of times those people who are really hauling you over the coals are the people that are saving your life.
So really it's those balance and checks.
Yes, balance and checks. And if you're thinking about setting up a business... Now, over the years, I know what I'm good at, but I also know now what I'm bad at. And so I need somebody like an accountant or a financial person or somebody to do what I'm not good at. So in all, I become successful overall because I've got the talents around me that either complement me or make up for what I'm not good at. And sometimes, I mean, obviously when I was younger, when you're all sort of, young and dangerous, you think you can do everything, but you can't. And the day that you suddenly realise that I need other people to come in to create that balance, that's when you start to become really successful.
How is that related in the book? I mean, because is that something that comes across when you've talked to these different communicators, these professional communicators? Is that something that comes across that you do need those balance and checks?
Well, absolutely. And the thing about it in the book is that you've got, for example, if you've got somebody who is an extrovert and they're very good at public speaking, they may be good, but they may not be good with the written word. They may not be good writers at all. There may be some people who are great salespeople, but when it comes down to actually putting proposals together, forget it. They don't know where to start. And if you're somebody who, in fact, needs to be able to put together a very strong presentation, for example, for senior management, and you don't know how to start, you need the things within the book to be able to help guide you on the process of doing it. Then you learn your skills and develop your skills and become, much fuller, more rounded communicator.
Okay, just so that people are just reminded of the contents of the book, what are the key areas that you cover in there? What are the key skills that that come across from the book?
Well, there's 4 sections in the book. One which is talking first of all about the elements which we've touched on today, which are the elements that are common in the Golden Rules, for example, to both speaking and writing. Then there's a section where we tackle speaking, and within that, it's all about being relaxed. There's a chapter on reducing stress, for example, and we even talk about meditation techniques to calm yourself down if you're somebody who's very, hypersensitive and nervous about things. And there's also advice in the speaking section about overcoming nerves before you actually perform. Within that, there's a company called Partners With You, for example, Sally Hindmarsh, and she uses professional actors to take people who are wooden, who have no experience of speaking and performing, and turning them into good, solid performers in front of an audience. And so there are people who've got skills there about warming up your voice, about projecting, about stop becoming croaky, like I'm becoming croaky, about how you use voice in such a way that you connect with people, but also is you're using the language and the style to immediately make the connection with someone in terms of style. And that's very important to be able to do that. And so you're using the right words, the right language and the right pitch.
Listen, we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well in just a few moments' time. It is a fascinating insight into the way that perhaps you should be communicating with your business colleagues. In fact, the whole art of communicating with human to human, very, very important, and it's something that we all sometimes need to consider and just stand back for a moment and reassess the way that we talk to other people, the way we communicate our message. And of course, messages can vary right across talking to the other half, to your partner, all the way through the talking to the boss and asking for a pay rise. You need those skills of communications. And that's what we're talking about today with Steve Bridger on Business Connections Live. There's a little video that you've put together for the book, in fact, which is a real insight, really fascinating. And it kind of encapsulates what the book is all about, doesn't it?
It does, but because what it mainly does is says that everybody can actually be better. And everybody can do this, and we help them to do it.
All right, so I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's have a little look at that video. This is Steve Bridger talking about his brand new book. It's called Transform Your Communication Skills.
How would you feel to get this fantastic reaction the next time you speak in public? How would you like to overcome nerves and be really confident in front of an audience? How would you feel to bring a smile to someone's face the next time they read something you've written? Imagine what it'd be like to get a huge round of applause after your next presentation. Would you love to feel just like this? Yes. Well, you can. You can transform your speaking or writing or presentation skills. The pages of the book are packed with practical advice. It's easy to read, quick to absorb, it's welcoming and very different. You see, I've been joined by 10 talented experts who will share their experiences. It's like having your own personal team of coaches by your side and on your side to help you succeed, to help you achieve. In the UK, you can order the book from Amazon, Waterstones, WH Smith's and other leading bookshops. It is also available worldwide through major online retail sites.
Don't get on to me. Don't get upset me.
He's sitting there. I've just berated him while that was on. It's very good. It's a real insight as well into what the book is all about. And I think the reactions that are in there actually do show what people are looking for when they do a presentation, whether they realise it or not. It is that sometimes you are looking when you're standing up there for that communication to come back the other way that says, yes, this is right. yes, this is interesting, this is what I want to know. You are looking for that feedback all the time. And I think sometimes people lose that when they write the word. They don't invite that nearly. They don't really know exactly what they're looking for, do they? Did you, I mean, when you were putting that together, what was interesting, you put it's brief, so you got the brevity. The proposition's very clear at the very beginning, and you got the solution in there. Was that deliberate in the way that you wrote it as well?
Well, what I wanted to do in writing, first of all, is once again get away from, if you like, the business type of it, but get away with the effect of what you can achieve and the way that you can actually change people's lives. You can influence people, you can inspire people, and everybody has that capability. And it's a question of sometimes of self-belief and improving that self-belief. And in terms of showing all those reaction shots within the audience and everybody's clapping and everything, everybody can do that. And I remember one particular occasion when I'd finished something and I was reading from a book that I'd written and it was in a business situation. And I finished reading and it was silence. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they hate it. But there was a silence because they wanted more. And suddenly the whole place erupted in sort of, if you like, those sort of slow motion hand claps and smiles and everything, and it completely blew me away.
And kind of changed the perception.
It changed the perception totally.
You are watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is author Steve Bridger. We're talking about his brand new book. It is called Transform Your Communication Skills. It is one of the most important things that you've got to consider. It's a great book, by the way. It's beautifully written, some great examples in there, some good advice as well. It's an easy read, and that's what I like about it. Everything from, well, speaking and presentation skills, how you should be using video, the kind of audience that you're going to be talking to, a real insight. And lots of really good advice from people that are experts in their individual fields. We'll give you all the details, or you can find out the details on how you can get hold of the book if you just go to our website at studio@businessconnectionslive.com. You were going through the four key areas. We touched on two. What's number 3 and number 4?
Well, I think the biggest thing, which is the picture which I think we're just about to put up on the screen.
Oh, yes, this picture here.
This picture here.
Right.
Which is, would you rather walk the plank than speak in public? And most people will say, yes, the shark spin every time.
Just get me on that plank. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Get me on the plank. I want to avoid this altogether because this is just actually hell for me.
Why do you think that is, Steve? Why do you think we're
Well,
saying?
I think it's literally, it's keep panic, don't calm. It's that from Corporal Jones from Dad's Army, where you get so confused. You're just like all your senses. It's like a pinball machine suddenly going tilt. You've got to speak in public. Oh my God, what do I do? How do I go about it? And so on and so forth. And part of the book is to say, look, there are ways to overcome this, and the ways that you can suddenly get a grip on your panic and on your fear and on your pain.
Don't panic, Mr. Mering.
Don't panic, Mr. Mering.
Yeah.
And to be able to do it.
Don't tell him your name, Pike.
Right. Don't yes. Pike, don't tell him your name. That's right. So there's things that we talk about in the book, and one of the ideas that helps people suddenly sort of calm down and think about it is called the Russian dolls approach.
The Russian, we have an illustration here to support the very words that we are saying.
Yes, the very words we're saying. Now, the thing about the Russian dolls approach is that if you imagine that first instant when somebody says, right, you've got to stand up and talk, that is the big doll of the massive problem. That's the panic that you feel, and you're thinking, oh my God, this is such a massive project and such a big thing, and it's all to do with lots of different things, and how on earth do I cope? And what the Russian dolls approach does is that, in the Russian doll, of course, is that as you open the Russian doll, there's a little doll that's smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And the idea being is that you take your fear from being a big fear into a tiny fear that you can handle, that you can imagine. And the way you do that is to think about it in little dedicated ways, that you break big problems down into tiny problems, and you can cope with tiny problems. So, for example, when you're talking about the whole initial thing about speaking in public, it normally goes down to 2 elements you're thinking about. One is, what do I say, what do I do, and how am I going to do it? So there's, if you like, the logical thing of structure in your mind about, what on earth are you going to do? And the second part is very much about how you feel about yourself and whether you can actually present, whether you can stand up, and are people going to be talking about the purple tie you're wearing, whether they like purple ties, or the dress you're wearing, or the shirt, or whatever it may be. They may be thinking about you and the way you wear your hair, or the clothes you're wearing, or the dress you've got on.
We always have a perception of what people will be looking at. I mean, for instance, when I watch them, I see my big belly whenever I watch myself back. That's all I see. I don't hear what I say, don't hear what I look like, I just see my belly. And of course, your perception of yourself is always going to be different from everybody else's perception.
Indeed. Indeed, but the thing is that you immediately go into panic and worry mode. The facts are that apart from, unless you've got an enemy in the audience which hates you for some reason, most people want you to succeed. They want you to do well. And the most crucial thing is they want to hear what you've got to say. And they want to hear the knowledge or the gift of learning that you're about to give them. And it's that's the important thing. Now, the crucial thing is that if you do that, if you think to yourself, well, it's not about me, I am the messenger, I'm the Hermes, if you like, I'm the Mercury, I'm the messenger of the gods, all right? So I'm about to deliver the message. Now, if as a speaker, you concentrate on that and only on that, i.e. that you put yourself and you take yourself out of the picture, because what you're giving prominence to is the message, the content, right? And if you do that, immediately you feel lighter, because you're not worried about all this extraneous nonsense that is about where you look, how you feel, big tummy, little tummy, or whatever it may be. That you are now concentrating on doing your very best at delivering the goods, delivering the message, giving the learning, giving the gift of knowledge. And once you do that, you realise that you are only the conduit, the word you used before. Yep. You are the messenger. And nobody's going to kill the messenger on this, because they want the messenger to give them the message.
Right, so that's 1, 2 and 3. Number 4, briefly.
Well, is presentation technique. The presentation technique is actually...
Brevity is one word I would use.
It's brevity, yes, but the presentation technique is how to actually put presentations together, the devices that you use, the images you use, and there is a thing called VAK, which is visual, audio, and kinesthetic. And once again, you've got the audience and they've got their 3 different characteristics. So
briefly, that's understanding how people are receptive to things.
Exactly.
Do they see it? Do Visually, they hear it? Do they touch it?
Audio, do they touch it? And are they triggered a bit more by seeing pictures? Or actually, do they like to do things, take active part in it? Or is it just something which they want to hear the knowledge and hear what you've got to say, So it's VAK. So in the presentation part of the book, it's all about structuring that, understanding how to put something together, how to actually, for example, when you're saying to people, when they're coming, could you sit down, making sure you're turned off your mobiles. It's having control. And sometimes just standing silently in the middle of the stage and saying nothing is the way that you get attention, because everybody says, right, you're in control. And there are certain rules that you can put together to make people understand that, for example, if you need to pop out during the presentation, if it's a long one, then do it. Give people permission to do things and speak to them as if you want them to respond. And of course, there is that very important thing, which is how long to keep people's attention. And there's a 10-minute rule. So when you're presenting, for example, you know that in 10-minute slogs, you need to do something different to keep people alive, to keep people awake, to keep people engaged, and also to interconnect with an audience, and so that people are coming in and actually being part of it, rather than being spoken at and talked to.
Listen, it's been a real insight in finding out a little bit about the whole world of communications. I don't know, the number of corporate meetings I have been to where the presentations have gone on for hours and you are struggling to stay awake is unbelievable. If you're running I mean, obviously you like your own droning or whatever it is, but if you run corporate presentations like that, get to that point, whatever you're doing. Listen, Steve, we always ask our guests to look straight down camera number 1 and to give the takeaways of today's programme, the key things to remember. It's all about communication, the key things that businesses need to remember. Business men and women need to remember when they're communicating, be it with their sales force, or with their customers. So say who you are, where you're from, straight down camera number one. The airwaves are all yours. Steve, please take it away.
Camera number one, Steve Bridger. Things to think about, things to take away from Transform Your Communication Skills is that everybody can get better at what they're doing. And we talk about with confidence, presenting with confidence. The main thing about it is that you can develop, and it's not really about the individual segments within the book of speaking, writing or presenting. The most important thing is it's about you. It's about how that you are feeling and about how you can improve, how you can develop, how you can actually achieve your ambitions and fulfill your talents. And this is what this book is really all about. It's a handbook of change. It's a handbook to guide you for the future and a more successful, more confident future. Thank you.
Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. It is an absolutely fascinating insight into how you should be communicating in business. The book, as I said, is called Transform Your Communication Skills. There is a chapter in there that we've put together and we've worked with Steve on, where we look at how you go about preparing for crisis management interviews for that matter. For instance, if your company's in the mire, and the press are phoning you up and they're talking to you and they're saying, listen, we want to get a few words from you. How do you handle that? What's the best way of structuring what you're about to say? You find this with a lot of corporate companies as well. When they're actually delivering press releases, they may get called up by a news agency. What should you be doing to prepare for that interview, be it on the radio, be it in front of camera, be it down the line, whatever you are doing? What should you be thinking about at that point? How do you communicate those different messages you want to get across? Is it long, convoluting sentences, or do you break it right down so that what you're actually doing is that you are delivering individual sound bites that can be used by the broadcasters that will emphasize and actually clarify the message you are trying to get across? Do you do sound bites that are slightly ambiguous sometimes, and so they can be taken in a number of different ways? And when you are being interviewed as well, for that matter, how do you avoid those really tricky questions? I think that somewhere in the book it actually says there are 3 things that you should do when you're doing an interview, the way you should answer it. You should either say, I know the answer, I don't know the answer, or I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
And that is so important, and there are a lot of people out there that will waffle on. We have seen people who will make up corporate policy on the hoof.
And never say no comment.
And never say no comment. If you really want to annoy somebody, never ever say no comment. The book is absolutely fascinating. Fast track your career, fulfill your potential, achieve positive change, transform your communication skills, speak, write, present with confidence. And the author's name is Steve Bridger. Steve, thank you very much indeed for coming in talking to us about the book. It really is a fascinating read, and the clarity that's in there, and it does cover all aspects, everything from the written word all the way through to presentation technique. And I love the idea as well that the fact that if you are maybe going to be doing a best man speech, there's going to be advice in there for you as well, for that matter. Steve Bridger was my guest on today's edition of Business Connections Live, and we do hope you've actually enjoyed the show today. Steve, it's been absolutely fascinating. If you want to get hold of the book, you can remind us right now. I've got your website here, in fact.
Yeah, that's the best thing.
So that's the best place to go. Transformyourskills.com is actually the website. Speak, write, present the book. There it is. There's that video that we showed you earlier on is on the page. Soar Higher and Higher. This is where the actual book is available from. It's available from, is that Troubadour?
It's Troubadour.
Troubadour, yeah. Waterstones for pre-order, WH Smith's, and also Amazon as well. I think what the book is showing you is the kind of thing that people are crying out for. It's the kind of documentation that people are looking for all the time. Is this all the different people that are in it?
No, if you go on to the book, and then just scroll down from there, and then you've got the team. Open that up if you can.
We're gonna look at the team. Here we go.
Look at the team if we can.
Yeah, we're getting there. It's still thinking about it. It's the wonder of WordPress. Here we go, the team. Meet the contributors. So there we go. Stephen Engwell, Sally Hindmarch, Annie Farr as well that's there. And if we go down a little bit, we've got Peter Cook. And, oh, look, there's myself and Linda. We've got Mark Hughes. Go down a little bit further. Melanie Dodaro, is that?
Yes, from
And
British Columbia.
Jonathan Davey. And Steve Preston. What does Steve Preston do? He's the managing director of S&P. So some really top-class contributors to this book. If you want to get your copy, simply go to the website, transformyourskills.com, and you can find out all about it there. Let me just go through what's coming up on the shows in the next couple of weeks. Steve DeMarman advising you on how to entertain your clients in the festive season. Some really good ideas there. Also, we're going to be talking a little bit about networking as well, for that matter, and how to maximise your return on networking when you are out, and how you can really use the seasons, the different events throughout the year to actually maximise return on your investment into your customers too. In December, we have Helene Panzerino with her new book, Funding Your Business for Dummies, which will be published on the 11th of December. Monday, the 21st of December, you can join us for our Christmas party show. Now, what's happening is we've got a lot of our guests over the past 2 years. They're going to be coming in, as many as we can possibly fit into the studio. And we're going to be getting a piece of advice from all of them on what next year should bring and how you should achieve it. So that's what's going to be happening, and we may be throwing some wine down their throats, but we're not really going to say that right now. 100 plus programmes broadcast by us here, and we're going to be bringing in our guests. We're calling it our Christmas party. We'd like you to join the celebrations with us here. Don't forget, you can advertise with the programme. Must be time right now to run those credits, surely. And don't forget, you can watch us on your local TV channel, Cambridge TV. Thank you very much indeed. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being with us today. You've been a lovely, lovely man. Don't forget, keep it brief, keep it short. Till we do it all again next week, take care of yourself. Bye for now. Bye-bye.